which is, why are you so interested in this biblical story as opposed to any other biblical story?
Well, that is because, first of all, Jesus believed in the flood model. And it's the basis for the entire authenticity of the Bible. If you can prove that the Genesis story is false, you have destroyed the entire belief system on which Christianity is based. So that's why we use this model to show people that Noah's Ark was real and that the story is true.
Now, this was one of the stronger points of why I walked away from the Bible and deconstructed from it. Because of exactly what this man said. If you can disprove the Genesis story, then you have disproven Christianity, because Christianity is based on the Torah. And without the Torah, you do not have Christianity. And with Jesus being a believer and active participant in the Torah, then the teachings of Jesus, as far as him being God, would have to be incorrect, because then he would have been believing in a false dichotomy. So what is it about Genesis that can be proven to be incorrect? Well, there are a few things. We're just going to cover, well, there's a lot, but we're just going to cover a few. So the first thing that I have to start out by saying is that if you are willing to accept the Genesis story and accept the Bible, then you must accept the young earth creationist theory, meaning that the earth is only about 6,600 and something years old. And this is traced back by looking at the genealogies and going through this person begat that person, and this is how old they were when they begat that person. And when you start from the time frame of Jesus, you are going to go back to about 6,000. You're going to go back 6,600 and some odd years from today's time. So you're looking at the universe being created, according to this Bible, in and around 4,600 and something BCE. That's your scale. That's what you have to believe if you are to accept the Bible. But there are too many things that prove that the earth, the sun, the moon are much older than that. And we're going to get there in just a second. But the first thing we start out with is that this God is not a creator God. This God is a rearranger God. When you read Genesis 1, chapter 1, it starts out by saying that this God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And he flooded above the waters, and the waters were in chaos. Now, there may not have been that much light, but the earth was already there. It was just formless. It was void. It was chaotic. It was a water world. So this God did not create the water. He did not say, let me create this water world, and then I'll start rearranging and separate the water world. No, he just said, let there be light. So the only thing you can give this guy some creation aspects of is simply light. But that the earth was already here, so he is rearranging that matter. So if that matter was already in existence, then who created that matter? It's a good question, right? Certainly not this God. He's just rearranging the matter. Now it goes on to say that this God then created land, and land came up. Well, when we look at the history of the planet, at no time frame has the earth ever been covered by water. There is not enough water on the earth. There's not enough water in the sky. There's not enough water on the planet to cover the entire planet with water. And even though there was a discovery that there may have been some water underground crystallized in some format, I did a video about that months ago. That is a hypothesis and has not been proven. And that is a guess that if they are to find a certain amount of this crystallized water beneath the planet, that it may be enough. But that is not truth. That is not facts. So the earth has never been covered by water. It takes away from your Genesis story. One of the bigger things that takes away from your Genesis story is the aspect that the sun was created on the fourth day. We know that you cannot have days without having the sun and the moon in order for us to have our days, without having the sun, in order for us to have our days in the rotation of the earth. So therefore, the sun cannot have been created on the fourth day if we had days prior to that, according to your story. But the bigger issue with this is that we know that the sun is older than the earth. We know that the stars are older than the earth. It takes stars, the light from stars, hundreds of thousands of years to reach Earth traveling at light speed. We know that our sun produces light. That light takes 8 minutes to get here, traveling at light speed. When we look at the stars at night, what we are seeing is light that was emitted hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago. So therefore, the Earth only being 6,600 some odd years old is impossible with us receiving light from stars that were emitted millions of years ago. So therefore, the idea that the sun and the moon and the stars were created on the fourth day doesn't work. The geological record shows that it doesn't work. And another aspect of it that shows that it does not work, we know that the people of Taran Tepe existed about 12,000 years ago. Therefore, the Earth cannot be 6,000 years old. We know that the people of Göbekli Tepe are about 9,000 years ago. The Earth cannot be 6,000 years old. We know that we had an ice age that started roughly about 50 plus thousand years ago and ended around 12,000 years ago. How can the Earth had not been in existence if we had an ice age that had started 50,000 years ago? So therefore, once again, the Earth cannot be 6,600 some odd years old. Now, he focused a lot on evolution, but then focused on the Noah's Ark story. And there is where a big major problem comes into play. Because with the Noah's Ark story, you cannot ignore the fact that there were multiple societies around the world, whether we're talking about the Minoans, the Kemetic, the Asiatics, the Northern and Southern American societies, the South Pacific societies that were in existence before the flood, during the flood, and were still in existence after the flood. The King's List does not have a break in it. The Assyrians, the Sumerians, the Kemetics, the Sudanese, the Cushites, all these societies that are in that area were in existence before, during, and after the flood. So therefore, the Noah story is a fabrication. We know that at the time frame that the flood ended, around 2000, about 2,200 and something BCE, that there were societies already in the Americas. So the children of Japheth are not the people in the Americas. They are not the Europeans. The children of Ham are not the Egyptians, the Kemetics. They are not the people of Cush. They were already there and still there. So they are not the progenitors of those people. This is merely what one book is saying. You would have to say that everybody else in history was lying about their societies being in existence during this time frame and after this time frame. You would have to say that they all are liars instead of you in order for it to be a possibility. But the fact is, words don't mean a thing. The archaeological record demonstrates that those societies were in existence before, during, and after the flood. The Minoans were in existence before, during, and after the flood. So therefore, your Noah story does not work. And again, the earth has never been covered by water. Your Noah story doesn't work. All the animals would have died. All the plants on the planet would have died. The seas would have died. Your Noah story does not work in the slightest. Animals like sloths and penguins making their way, the polar bear, the elephant, all these things are impossibilities and never happened. There are animals that have never been in any other landmass other than the one that we find them today. Never happened. No lemurs. Never happened. So the Noah story, although there are many other aspects of it that are invalid, those are just a few. Tell me some other things in the comments. That is why we deconstructed from it. And if that gentleman was honest, he would deconstruct from Christianity as well. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, Good vibrations.